Meanwhile, House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy introducing a resolution throwing U.S. support behind protesters in Iran. The measure would put lawmakers on a record over the revolt against the regime after some on both sides bashed the Trump administration over its Iranian policy. Texas Congressman Michael McCaul is the co-sponsor of the measure, a ranking member of the Foreign Affairs Committee, and he joins us now. Congressman, thank you for taking out the time.
Thanks, Charles. Thanks for having me.
Explain to the audience exactly the goal of this and how it works.
It's just a resolution telling the Iranian people and the protesters in Iran that we support them. The American people have their back. And as the President of the United States pointed out, warn the regime not to kill these protesters. And time again, they turn the internet off and they kill these protesters. They are standing up for freedom, democracy, and we have to stand up for that as a principle anytime we can. Unfortunately, Kevin and I tried to get this to have consideration on the floor just about an hour ago, and the Democrats shot it down. They would not allow a vote on this resolution.
Are you surprised, not just at them not giving you a shot here on this vote on this resolution, but at the continued focus on Soleimani's death, the circumstances behind it? You know, I've lived through what difference does it make with Hillary Clinton when it came to the deaths of 4 Americans in the aftermath of that, saying that that was no big deal. And yet this doesn't go away, even after the Iranian people have shown their displeasure with this administration, with this regime, have shown that they want true freedom and democracy. And yet, on our side, it feels like half of the folks in D.C. either don't get it or don't want to get it.
Yeah, it's very discouraging. Charles, I'll tell you, when bin Laden was killed, we came together, Republican, Democrat, as Americans, and we applauded that decision. And unfortunately, they're putting partisan politics first in this case. Soleimani was a mastermind of terror for over 2 decades. And the question is, when is enough enough? And I was in the White House when the president had to decide, how am I going to respond to this UAV drone being shot down? The president has shown great restraint not to hit Iran, even though they've had strike after strike. And then once they killed an American and wounded 4 soldiers, and then once they attacked our embassy, you have to ask the question, how many Americans have to die? How many embassies have to be attacked before the president should respond? I think he was absolutely correct in his decision. Finally, this imminent threat has been completely, I think, butchered by the Democrats. There was an imminent threat. Soleimani was traveling to Lebanon, Damascus, back to Baghdad to meet with his number 2 guy, to go back to the Ayatollah, to get a green light, to then kill Americans and diplomats at various regions in the Middle East. So if the president had not acted, assume that, and that attack did happen, what then? And what would the critics of the president say at that point?
Particularly as Iran, to your point, continued to push the envelope, took any sort of everything that the president did not do as a sign of weakness, and each attack, each act of provocation became more dangerous for the world and America. Quickly, though, while Democrats may not be listening, maybe our European allies are, UK, France, Germany, triggering a dispute mechanism. Also, Boris Johnson reiterating something he said last year, let's replace this JCPOA with the Trump deal. Obviously, it seems like maybe Europeans are starting to think differently.
You know, I think it's a bit of hope, I think. You know, the fact is they responded with ballistic missiles. There were no casualties. The president offered, he showed great constraint again. And now I think he offered this basically to NATO, I want to work with you. I want to open up diplomatic channels with you. And remember the airline that the Iranians shot down, killing, 200 people. A lot more, there were Canadians on board and Europeans. So I think there's a window of opportunity to go the diplomacy route, which is what the president wants. He has told me he does not want to start a war. He wants to end wars, and he wants to have a better negotiation than the JCPOA.
Thank you very much, Congressman. And by the way, happy birthday.
Thank you so much. Can't think of a better way to spend it.
Yeah, me either. I appreciate you spending time with us in the audience.